Once upon a time, in the tumultuous 17th century, a man named Oliver Cromwell found himself caught up in the swirling chaos of the English Civil War. Oliver was a staunch parliamentarian, a man of conviction who believed that the power of the people and the authority of Parliament should prevail over the absolute rule of the monarchy. As tensions escalated between King Charles I and Parliament, Oliver Cromwell emerged as a leader of the parliamentarian forces. He was a skilled military strategist and a charismatic speaker who could rally his troops with fiery speeches that invoked the ideals of freedom, democracy, and the rights of the common man. One cold and misty morning, as the royalist and parliamentarian forces faced each other on a battlefield, Oliver Cromwell stood before his troops. His eyes blazed with determination as he addressed his fellow soldiers. "Men of England, we stand here today not as subjects under the arbitrary rule of a king, but as free citizens fighting for our rights and the future of our nation. We fight not for personal gain, but for the principles of justice, representation, and the rule of law." The parliamentarian soldiers cheered, their spirits lifted by Cromwell's words. With Oliver leading them, they charged into battle with a fierce resolve. Time and again, Oliver's strategic brilliance turned the tide of battle in favor of the parliamentarians. His new model army, a disciplined and well-trained force, became a formidable opponent for the royalists. Through countless battles and hardships, Oliver Cromwell's influence grew stronger. He became a symbol of the parliamentarian cause, inspiring not only his soldiers but also the common people who yearned for a more just society. As the war raged on, he gained recognition as a skilled politician as well, working to unite various factions within the parliamentarian camp. After years of conflict and bloodshed, the parliamentarians finally emerged victorious. King Charles I was captured, tried, and ultimately executed in 1649, marking a profound shift in English governance. Oliver Cromwell's role was far from over, though. He became Lord Protector of the newly established Commonwealth of England, effectively ruling the country as a military dictator. Cromwell's rule was marked by both successes and controversies, as he attempted to balance the demands of governance, religious factions, and the military. Despite his efforts, the challenges proved immense, and upon Cromwell's death in 1658, the Commonwealth began to unravel. The legacy of Oliver Cromwell and the English Civil War remains complex. Some view him as a champion of democracy and freedom, while others criticize his authoritarian tendencies. Regardless of perspective, the story of Oliver Cromwell's journey from a passionate parliamentarian to a powerful leader reflects the complex and transformative nature of the English Civil War, a period that reshaped the course of English history. Political struggles. The conflict was rooted in the ongoing power struggle between the monarchy and Parliament. King Charles I believed in the divine right of kings and sought to assert his authority over various aspects of governance, including taxation and religious matters. Parliament, on the other hand, was asserting its right to have a say in these matters and to limit the king's powers. Religious tensions. Religious differences played a significant role in the conflict. England was divided along religious lines, with the Church of England, Anglican, being the established church. However, there were various factions within Protestantism, including Puritans who sought to purify the Church of England of what they saw as remnants of Catholic practices. Charles I's attempts to impose Anglican practices in Scotland, which had a Presbyterian tradition, led to unrest and further religious tensions. Financial strain. Charles I faced financial difficulties throughout his reign. He often resorted to questionable methods of raising funds, such as forced loans and arbitrary taxation, without seeking Parliament's approval. This alienated many members of Parliament and the wider population. Personal rule and lack of Parliament. For a period known as the 11 Years' Tyranny, Charles I ruled without calling Parliament, relying on his own prerogative powers to govern. This fueled suspicions that he was attempting to establish an absolute monarchy and bypass the authority of elected representatives. Discontent in Ireland and Scotland. Charles I's policies and attempts to impose religious conformity in Ireland and Scotland led to discontent and rebellions in these regions. The Irish Rebellion of 1641 and the Covenanters' resistance in Scotland added to the overall instability in the kingdom. Militarization and polarization. As tensions escalated, both sides began to raise armies. The formation of the parliamentarian, new model army, under the leadership of Oliver Cromwell marked a significant shift in the conflict, with a well-disciplined force challenging the royalists. The polarization of society into parliamentarian and royalist camps further deepened the divide. Execution of Thomas Wentworth. The execution of Thomas Wentworth, the Earl of Strafford, who had been a close advisor to Charles I, was a turning point. His execution in 1641 demonstrated the potential consequences of antagonizing Parliament and reinforced the notion that even high-ranking officials could be held accountable for their actions. These causes intertwined and created a volatile environment that ultimately led to armed conflict. The war itself consisted of a series of battles and campaigns, with the parliamentarians ultimately emerging victorious. The aftermath of the war saw the temporary establishment of the Commonwealth of England, led by Oliver Cromwell, and the eventual restoration of the monarchy in 1660 under Charles II. The English Civil War's impact on the course of English history and its influence on concepts of governance and individual rights were profound.